Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Melissa Negrin-Wiener, partner with Genzer, Dubau, Genzer, and Kona, and this is our monthly webinar. And today we're going to speak about Medicaid home care, and we have a guest with us as well, Lynn Isapon from Senior Helpers, and she's going to be talking about full risks. So let's get started. Okay, so Medicaid home care is a service that's available to individuals who require assistance with their activities of daily living, but wish to remain in their home. So while some people might choose to go to an assisted living, people who want to stay home typically will have someone come into the home to assist them. And home health care aides can be paid privately, they can be paid with long-term care insurance, or they can be paid with the community Medicaid program. Medicaid home care is a program that allows for the payment of a home attendant who helps the elderly or disabled person fulfill their basic care needs. But in order to qualify for Medicaid in the community, an individual must be both financially eligible and medically eligible. In order to be financially eligible, an individual cannot have more than $14,850 in assets, and a couple who's applying cannot have more than $21,750 in assets. Now, these numbers don't include retirement accounts like 401ks and IRAs. They do include checkings and savings, brokerage accounts, annuities. Anything that's non-retirement will be included in these numbers. And so most people feel that their initial reaction is, well, I can't qualify for Medicaid home care. And that is where we come in. So people will engage in asset protection planning. They will divest themselves of all of their assets and be eligible the first day of the following month for Medicaid home care benefits. There is no 5-year look back for Medicaid at home, which is one of the biggest pieces of misinformation out there. Somebody can transfer all of their assets, whether it's to a spouse, to a child, to a trust, and they can be eligible the first day of the following month for community Medicaid. Medicaid only begins on the first of the month, so the transfers should be made at the end, prior to the beginning of that following month. Transfers can be made to anyone. Like I said, it could go to a parent, a child, a spouse, a trust in order to qualify for Medicaid home care benefits. But what people need to be really careful about is it's not as simple as just transferring the money and getting on home care. You need to be careful the way that you do it, because if the individual who's receiving the home care ends up needing nursing home care within 5 years of those assets having been transferred, then they're going to be subject to a penalty period for institutional Medicaid, which is a subject for another day. But the idea is you don't want to just do this on your own. Doing this with somebody who can handle the planning and explain to you how a trust works or why it's safer to put money in a trust versus transferring it to children, and to really protect that asset so that if there's a need for nursing home care within the 5 years after the transfers are made, the money is still there to come back to pay for a portion of the individual's nursing home care. Once somebody is down below $14,850 in assets, whether they set up a trust or transfer the money out to another person, then we look at income. And in order for a person to qualify for Medicaid, they can't make more than $825 a month. A couple cannot make more than $1,209 a month. So again, this is the part typically in my presentation where everybody kind of looks at me and says, well, who's going to qualify for this? So there is a way to preserve excess income. First, let's identify what we're talking about. Social Security, pension, IRA distributions, any sort of monthly income, income from a trust, that's all included when calculating the monthly income. So the majority of people will have over $825 a month in income. The majority of couples will have over the $1,209. What used to happen is Medicaid would say, take the excess income, whatever's over the $825, and give it to the home care agency to pay for your care, and then we, Medicaid, will pick up the difference. But that was forcing people to live on these very, very low income numbers. And while they were doing that, they were then starting to apply for other government benefits like food stamps, like HEAP. So it wasn't really getting anybody anywhere because it ended up costing more in government benefits than otherwise. So what they do now is they allow us to set up something called a pooled income trust. Okay, so if the individual has income in excess of that 825 or the 1209 for a couple, they need to spend down that excess income. And a pooled income trust is by far the best way to do that. It's an alternative to, again, spending the money down on the care, to giving the money to the home care agency and having Medicaid pick up the difference. A pooled income trust is a special trust that's set up through a not-for-profit. It's a type of special needs trust, and it's for elderly and disabled participants. They'll contribute their excess income to the trust to be managed with other participants' funds. So basically, the logistics are the money comes into the bank account every month, just like it always has, the Social Security, the pension, whatever income is. And then there's a certain amount every month that's going to get written, a check written from the Medicaid recipient's bank account to the pooled income trust. And the money will be held in a pool with other people's monies and earmarked for the individual on Medicaid. So that specific amount will be available for the person who's on Medicaid. The money in the participant's trust, their specific account, can be used for their living expenses. That includes mortgage payments, rent, food, utilities, really anything that they need to do. Anything that's non-medical can be paid for from the pooled income trust. So most people will perhaps use a credit card to do the food shopping or shop for clothing or things like that, and then submit the credit card bill to the pooled income trust. The idea is that the pooled income trust will pay for the expenses of the Medicaid recipient and only the Medicaid recipient, and it's for non-medical expenses. The disbursements from the trust have to be paid directly to the vendor, to the provider of the service. So what ends up happening is who's ever helping the Medicaid recipient with their bill paying or their bookkeeping will send a form to the pooled income trust for each bill that they need to be paid every month, and the pooled income trust will pay the bill directly. If a person passes away, a Medicaid recipient passes away, and they have money sitting in the pooled income trust, then whatever's sitting there will go as a donation to the not-for-profit to further their charitable purpose. For the most part, people do use up their income every month, so typically there's very little sitting in the trust at any given time. So once a person is financially eligible, once their income is, the pooled income trust is set up for anything over the 825, and they're below $14,850 in the bank, then we have to look at medical eligibility. Medical eligibility is basically a screening that's done by a managed long-term care company. Possibly there's physician forms that get filled out depending on the county as well. And what they do is they look at the activities of daily living, which are toileting, mobility, transferring, feeding, dressing, grooming, and turning and positioning. So they come in to assess whether the Medicaid recipient can do these things on their own, if they require assistance, how much assistance they need, and they're going to set a certain amount of time to each one of these activities. And that's essentially how they determine how many hours of care Medicaid is going to pay for. So it could be 4 hours, it could be 8 hours, it could be a live-in situation. There used to be split shifts, 12 and 12, which really doesn't happen much anymore, unless, of course, you're doing non-Medicaid home care and private pay or long-term care insurance pay, where you have somebody who's awake, each set of 12, somebody's awake all the time. So it has been it's been getting increasingly more difficult to get a lot of hours through the Medicaid program because of the cuts and things like that, but we can still get a decent amount of hours when somebody really needs it. many people will then supplement and pay privately for some portion of the care. And then we look at a change in need. So somebody is at home, they're on Medicaid, they're receiving home care, and they can no longer stay home. Their needs can no longer be met at home. The family may need to look at a nursing home. So that's when we have to sit down and go back and look at all of the transfers to make sure that either 5 years has passed and that money is protected, or if it's within the 5 years, then we have to do some backpedaling and some different types of planning and different types of strategies to try to protect assets the best that we can. I'm now going to turn it over to Lynn Issapan from Senior Helpers so she can talk about fall prevention. Lynn?
Thank you. Thank you, Missy. So this is pretty timely. September, I don't know if you guys know, is Fall Prevention Month. And as we move into fall, lots of different things start to happen with the weather and the change in hours. So we're going to talk a little bit about how we can prevent some of those falls from happening. Here are some fall facts, not such fun fall facts, but among adults 70 years and older, 1 in 10 suffers a serious fall injury, such as a broken bone or head injury. And of those people, 5 in 10 of those, 50% of them, have problems getting up without help after they've fallen. Falls cause over 90% of broken hips, and only half of those people are going to be able to get around like they did before they broke their hip. What do we know about falls? Well, falls are more common than strokes, and they can be just as serious in their consequences. They are also the most preventable cause of needing nursing home placement. They can lead to problems with daily activities like dressing, bathing, and walking around. So how do we prevent falls? And these are all simple things that we can do every day just to be careful. Wear shoes with non-skid soles, especially now as the weather's changing and the leaves are coming down and it's going to start raining. Everything becomes very slippery. So you want to be really careful to have that grip on the ground. Make sure the home is well lit so that you can see things you might trip over. I know a lot of seniors have lamps in their homes. You know, it might be a good idea to think about putting in some kind of overhead lighting. Always use night lights in the bedroom, the bathroom, hallways, and stairways. Getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom is not an unusual occurrence. You want to make sure that you have those night lights around for people to follow. And remove throw rugs, or if you're really into throw rugs, fasten them down to the floor with carpet tape and tack down the edges. The worst thing is just to trip on a carpet edge for no reason at all. Have grab bars put in the bathtub, shower, and toilet area. Have handrails put on both sides of the stairways. Don't climb on stools or step ladders. Get someone tall to help you with jobs that call for climbing. Have your sidewalks and walkways repaired so that surfaces are smooth and even. Get regular checkups from your doctor and take good care of yourself. The other thing to do is have your eyes checked every year for vision changes, cataracts, glaucoma, and other eye problems. Sometimes our seniors might be having eye issues and they don't even really realize what's happening, and their depth perception may be off, and that is a very common way that people can fall by misjudging a step. Have your hearing checked every 2 years or any time you or others think that you can't hear well. See your doctor if you have foot pains or corns, or if you can't trim your toenails well. Sore feet can make you fall. Shoes that aren't fitting properly can make you fall. See your doctor right away if you feel dizzy, weak, or unsteady on your feet, if you feel confused, or if you fall. And let your doctor know if a medicine is making you feel dizzy or making you lose your balance. You may be on a new medicine and just feeling a little bit off. It may be a normal side effect that goes away after a couple of weeks. That happens sometimes. But always let your doctor know if something that you feel out of the ordinary is happening. And if your doctor wants you to use a cane or a walker, learn to use it and use it all the time. There are some magnificent canes out there, hand-carved canes, glitter canes, walkers with seats. There are all kinds of nice equipment out there that you can use. And make it fun. It's becoming a part of you, so make it your own. When you get up from bed during the night or in the morning, sit on the side of the bed for a moment or two before you stand up. This will give your blood pressure time to adjust and you will feel less dizzy. Take a couple of good, deep breaths. If you need to go to the bathroom often at night and you're having some mobility issues, you might want to consider using a bedside commode. Get regular exercise, especially walking. Do exercises to strengthen the muscles you use for walking and lifting. Don't smoke, and limit your alcohol intake to 2 drinks or less a day. Senior helpers, we can provide assistance in your home to reduce the risk of falls. We come in and we can assess the home of fall hazards. We'll provide you with a checklist and we'll make suggestions what you can do. We will also, if necessary, refer you to a licensed contractor who can help you make those changes in your homes. If you've had a fall, we can provide care to prevent the chance of another injury. We can also help you follow recommended rehabilitation guidelines. If you're receiving PT or OT at home, our caregivers will come in and we will support the exercises that you're given. And there's our information. And thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Missy.
Thank you so much, Lynn. This information is being provided to all of you for the purpose of educating your working caregivers. So ultimately, our goal is to provide these caregivers with resources and educate them regarding services and support that's available. The idea typically is to basically arm the workforce with the knowledge that they need so that if they are elder caregivers, they can take advantage of everything that's out there so they can stay present and productive at work and make sure that their aging loved one is safe at home. Thank you.
All righty, 2 drinks.